Good morning, Happy New Year. This is the first video for 2022. I'm going to be switching to a monthly format moving forward instead of a weekly, just to give myself a little bit more time between videos. And I have some material I can work through, but I got a request for this first one and I really enjoy doing those. So if you have material you'd like to see me cover, I am really excited to hear from you from DM or commenting on any of the videos or on the channel. So Jason asked me about the transitions in the 1 through 6 drill. And this is a bit of an SCA specific drill, although I think it has good application for general sword work. So I have my Pell here, and just as a reminder, the numbers have been done in different ways by other people, but the way I've always done them is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have my little pieces of 1-inch tape so that I can work on precision. So at the very basic level, we're just practicing being able to hit to all the cuts. So if I throw number 1, I'm going to throw to number 2, I'm going to come back to number 1, and then to number 3, and back to number 1, to 4, all through the numbers, and then you start with 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, you do it with 3. So you start everywhere, practicing going everywhere, and it's a good drill to practice both precision, hitting the little pieces of tape, and then also your transitions. And at an advanced level, the transitions are more important than the actual strikes, and what Jason was asking about specifically was the transitions. So I'm going to be talking about those a little bit and breaking them down a little bit, and I'm going to be doing the Pell facing away from the camera so that hopefully you can kind of practice along with me if you're watching the video. So I think that it's important to move through defense on the way to offense. It's something I say quite a bit. So at a very basic level, you can just move through your A-frame between cuts. So if I'm facing the camera, if I throw number 1, I can move through my A-frame position, my defense, and then throw number 2, and I can move through my A-frame, come back to number 1. I can then kind of wind out through my A-frame and then hit 3. So all of these turns done with the body, remember, and not the arms, give us a good loading motion between the cuts that'll kind of take us anywhere, and it gives us a good kind of a responsible transition. This is better than 1, 2, where there's nothing between us and the bad guy, and there's a lot of opportunity for the bad guy to strike us. So if I just do this, kind of the first sequence on the Pell, very easy. 1, A-frame, 2, A-frame, 1, A-frame, 3, A-frame, 1, A-frame, 4, A-frame, 1, A-frame, 5, A-frame, 1, A-frame, 6, A-frame. Very, very simple, very basic, but I think it's, like I said, this is much better practicing. You know, we get a little bit of Ring X little wheel feel to it. It's maybe a little bit broader, but it still gives us a good, responsible loading motion that keeps us safe. Another kind of I would say most common is the hanging guard transition. This is where we 1, hanging guard, 2, hanging guard, 1. And so this is great, and we should definitely practice this. But one thing that can be tough for people is going from an A-frame or a hanging guard to the same side. So for example, if I go 1, hanging guard, 2, that's pretty easy because we're crossing. Hanging guard, back to 1. Again, we're crossing, that's easy. But now we're going to come hanging guard to 3, which is the same side, and that can be more challenging. So we're going to go to our hanging guard, and then this is where this kind of like unwinding and the hip mechanics are going to be very important. So if I do this to the camera, 1, hanging guard, this is my uncrossed hanging guard. What I'm going to do, it's very important that I push the pommel forward and see how that kicks my tip back, and then it's going to be very easy to step out and land that number 3. So we are doing a hanging guard, and rather coming around to the opposite side, we're going to roll it into the same side. And you can do it without the step, but I of course like to step out with my left foot. This gets my head off the center line, and I think makes it easier to get some good power through if we really need to land. And remember, SCA heavy combat is an impact-based sport where you have to land a hard enough impact for the shot to count. So we're not gonna just slide down and cut, although you certainly could do that in a HEMA or a cut and thrust context. But since Jason is an armored combat fighter, we're kind of specifically thinking about transitions that work for armored combat. So if I just do this, I might not have enough power, but if I make sure I push the pommel to get some good tip travel and step out, again, not only does that get my head off the line, but it allows for a little bit extra body torque. So for the hanging guard transition, we can come 1, hanging guard, 2, hanging guard, 1, hanging guard. So here's that one of those toughies. 3, hanging guard, back to 1. And with this one, I will kick my foot. I'm still doing the pommel push to get the tip to kick back. And now I'm driving my right foot back to kind of give me that crossbody torque. So now we're back to 1, hanging guard. 4 is pretty easy. Hanging guard 1. Now we're doing essentially the same thing. So number 5, hanging guard back to number 1, hanging guard 6. So you can definitely do the hanging guard transition on the on side, the same side hanging guard roll. It's a little tough, but I think once you find the flow, it's pretty easy to land with precision and power because you are ending up in an uncrossed position. The offside hanging guard transition is definitely harder. So if we think about starting with 2 and going 2-2 or 2-4, this is where we're in a cross hanging guard and we're trying to land on that same side. This is tougher. So the trick for here, if I'm coming 2 and I want to go 4, I actually emphasize, although I'm still pushing the pommel forward to get some good blade contact, I really emphasize turning the torso, my kind of center line away, so that I can bring it back on that same side. And it is just harder to land a very hard shot from there, so your body mechanics really have to be pretty perfect. But that is how the hanging guard rolls on the same side on the off side happen. So it's 2, unwind, 4, unwind, 2. So if you're really struggling with these, I've shown the ladder drill before, and this is where you kind of start on the bottom and you're just alternating the hanging guard to either side. This is the most common and definitely the easiest version of this drill. But there is an escalation of the ladder drill where we do it on the same side on either side. So I think on the on side, it's pretty easy because we can come on the low hand, roll. And I'm still moving my feet, but I'm just making sure that I'm moving my body. So on the on side, it's pretty easy. So if I show this to the camera, if I think low, mid, high, mid, low. So that pommel motion around the lead hand is going to be very important because even with this, we're trying to avoid coming all the way around. Now the offside is again harder. So if I come low on this side, I'm really going to have to emphasize that hip motion and that step out. So with this one, again at the camera, low, rolling, turning, mid, rolling, turning, high, low, low. So I would practice those if you're really struggling with the hanging guard, same side transitions. Practice the ladder drill is a good way to isolate that skill and then reincorporate it back into your 1-6 drill. Sorry, it's very cold outside today. So far, everything we've been doing has been lead edge focused. But part of the 1-6 drill is learning all the different ways you can get from point A to point B. And this includes our back edges. Definitely the onside back edges are the easiest, and it's a good way to practice at the basic level, kind of the helicopter of death. So it's very easy to come back edge, front edge, and all we really do is change the kind of height of what we're doing. So it's very easy to come 1, 2, 1. Now from this back edge, I might like to come back into a roll, or we can 1, kind of step out, hit number 3 with the back edge, 4, 1. Now 5 is tough. You can do it with the back edge, and it's a good thing to practice. So we're just kind of practicing turning the hip to land these back edge attacks. Let me adjust that light a little bit. Okay. So definitely practice back edge, front edge. And then of course you can mix and match. So one of the things I like to do is if I'm doing 1 to 3 and I've thrown a back edge for 1, now's a good time to practice that roll to 3. Then it's time to go back up to 1, back to the back edge. So you can come 1, 3, 1, 4. And so you're definitely trying to be creative, thinking of all the different ways you can get to the various points. So I think already we've talked about using your A-frame as kind of a standard transition, using your hanging guard as a constant transition, using kind of the back edge, front edge as a standard transition, and then you start mix and matching. So it can be 1 A-frame, 2 hanging guard, 1 rolling, 3 back edge to 1 to 4. So definitely mix and match. So I think I'll probably stop there because that's kind of a lot. It's a pretty dense video. But if you find you're still struggling with particular motions, let me know and I'll go over that in either just a little quick video I can send to Jason specifically, or I can make a kind of a follow-up video. Play with those, let me know what you think, and I will see everybody next time.